Good afternoon on this Tuesday, September 23rd. I'm Yumna Naufal. These are today's headlines. At least 70 Islamic State militants are killed as the U.S. and 5 Arab states start airstrikes in Syria. A French national is kidnapped by an ally of IS in Algeria, demanding France stop the airstrikes in Iraq immediately. And in Lebanon, 1 soldier is killed and 2 wounded in a shootout between army personnel and gunmen close to Tripoli. At least 70 Islamic State fighters have been killed as the U.S. and its coalition partners carry out their first airstrikes against positions held by Islamic State militants in Syria. The attacks on the Raqqa province and IS stronghold are the first since the formation of an international U.S.-led coalition to fight IS. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the death toll is likely to be much higher, citing casualties in the provinces of Raqqa, Deir ez-Zor, and Hasaka in northern and eastern Syria. The government in Damascus says U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry sent notice about the airstrikes to the regime before they took place. Details provided by the U.S. Central Command confirmed that 5 Arab countries, they are Bahrain, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, are involved in the attacks. Jordan's Minister of Information and Communication, Mohammed al-Momani, said the airstrikes will continue in the coming period. So as a consequence of what is happening, an Algerian group has kidnapped and threatened to kill a Frenchman unless Paris halts air attacks in Iraq on fighters from its ally, the Islamic State group. The Jund al-Khilafa group, as it is called, said in a video that it had abducted Hervé Gourdel in a mountainous Tizi Ouzou region in northern Algeria, while Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb is active. Gourdel, sitting between 2 hooded men with assault rifles, identified himself, the date of his arrival to Algeria and the date of his kidnapping, and asked the French President François Hollande to intervene. The French Foreign Ministry and Presidency have confirmed that the video is genuine. And this comes as French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius says at the UN General Assembly that he does not see any legal obstacle to attacking IS also in Syria, although France does not have immediate plans to carry out airstrikes there. So on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, which kicks off, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry participated in an event at the Metropolitan Museum on the threat to cultural heritage in Iraq and Syria to stress the damage to cultural landmarks by the Islamic State.
We gather in the midst of one of the most tragic and one of the most outrageous assaults on our shared heritage that perhaps any of us have seen in a lifetime. Ancient treasures in Iraq and in Syria have now become the casualties of continuing warfare and looting. And no one group has done more to put our shared cultural heritage in the gun sights than ISIL. ISIL is not only beheading individuals, it is tearing at the fabric of whole civilizations. It has no respect for life. It has no respect for religion, and it has no respect for culture, which for millions is actually the foundation of life.
1 soldier was killed in Lebanon and 2 wounded, as well as gunmen in a speeding car opened fire at a Lebanese army position near the northern city of Tripoli. The incident took place near the Akoumi gas station in Badawi at 4 a.m. last night. The dead soldier has been identified as Muhammad Khalid al-Hussein. An army statement confirmed the death of the soldier but gave no information on the wounded. Although local TV and radio stations are reporting 2 other soldiers were injured in the attack and taken to the Al-Qabe hospital in Tripoli. The army stated soldiers manning the positions returned fire and that the military is still pursuing the attackers. Parliament Speaker Nabih Berri has postponed the presidential election to October 9th. After Parliament failed yet again to elect a president during the planned session due to lack of quorum. This is the 13th session that was aimed at electing a president 2 days short of the 4 months mark since Michel Sleiman's term expired on May 25th. It saw lawmakers yet again failing to elect a new head of state due to a boycott of the sessions by the March 8 bloc. The opposing parliamentary blocs have been unable to agree on a compromise candidate, with March 8's boycott being a clear rejection of the March 14 candidate for the top Christian position in the country, Lebanese Forces Chief Samir Jaja. March 8 is, of course, backing the candidacy of Michel Aoun. Syrian warplanes are firing 4 missiles on militant hideouts in Sajj al-Ghanam on the outskirts of Arsel. Militants from the Islamic State group and Jabhat al-Nusra are known to be hiding in those mountainous areas surrounding the northeastern border town, where they have been engaged in several clashes with the Lebanese army after violence broke out in the Bekaa town early in August. And MP Yassine Jabir, a member of Speaker Nabih Berri's parliamentary bloc, says that the Lebanese army has given assurances that parliamentary elections can be held in November in a safe atmosphere. The MP added that organizing general elections on time could be a possible way to break the country's political deadlock and presidential vacuum. He criticized the inability of Parliament to pass laws, pointing out that in 2013 it was only able to meet once to elect members of the committees. Coming up next, actress Emma Watson talks about feminism. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the 4:20 o'clock news on Future TV. Thousands of Palestinians have attended the funeral procession of the 2 men suspected of the abduction of 3 Israeli teens back in June after they were killed by the Israeli army earlier this morning. An Israeli army spokesman said the 2 Palestinians suspected of capturing and killing 3 Israeli teenage settlers were killed in a shootout with Israeli forces. The abduction of the 3 Jewish seminary students in the West Bank sparked a massive manhunt. It led to the arrest of hundreds of activists of the Hamas movement and eventually sparked Israel's summer offensive against Gaza. The Ad Hoc Liaison Committee, the donor support group for Palestine, has met at the UN to discuss the economic situation in the West Bank and Gaza. Norwegian Foreign Minister Borge Brende warned about recession in Palestine, as did Palestinian Finance Minister Shukri Bishara, who said the Palestinian Authority is in a precarious financial condition. Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Tsashi Hangabi stressed that supervision would be needed during the reconstruction to ensure that materials were not diverted from civilian use.
The Palestinian economy entered into recession in the first half of 2014. That is, before the devastating violence and destruction hit Gaza. The decline compounds the budgetary problems faced by the Palestinian Authority, making it all the more important that international donors continue to support the PA and honor their pledged commitments. The HLC today called on donors to increase their assistance to help cover the financial gap this year.
We are in a very precarious financial condition to begin with as the Palestinian Authority, and we cannot really incur additional expenses without jeopardizing the financial edifice of what we have. But we're confronted with Gaza. We need to step up our involvement. The international community, Israel, the world body wants to see us again operating and empowered in Gaza, but that would involve considerable expenses which we cannot afford at this point. So we have to find sourcing the funds and making sure that we can count now, if we're enabled to operate in Gaza normally, to levy taxes as we're trying to levy taxes in the West Bank, to promote trade and to be able to implement the good governance systems, the best practices we already have in the West Bank, in Gaza, then we will engage in a virtuous circle. It will start becoming self-funding.
250 are not enough. We need thousands of people, because it's going to be a long, a profound process of supervision, not only in the crossings, but also in the field, to make sure that every material that goes in and has dual use, like concrete, like cement, like iron, like several other materials, are really being used properly to the goal, to the sacred goal of rebuilding Gaza. So you need many people doing it, and we hope, as was mentioned by the minister, that the Palestinian Authority will be the organ that is taking leadership, taking the responsibility, and we will of course assist in every way that this process will be rapid and will be accelerated and be effective.
The World Health Organization says that the Ebola epidemic that has killed 2,811 in West Africa has been contained in Senegal and Nigeria. Senegal had not reported any new cases of the virus since the first case was reported on August 29th, while the last case reported in Nigeria was on September 8th. The incubation period for Ebola is 21 days, and double that time must pass without any new cases arising before a country can be deemed transmission-free. Both Senegal and Nigeria implemented strict measures early on to isolate the ill and track down further possible cases, possibly saving them from the epidemic that has taken hold on Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. The announcement comes as Nigerian students prepare to return to school after an enforced summer break because of Ebola. Emma Watson, the British actress, is being targeted by hackers who are threatening to publish nude photos of her in retaliation for her speech where she announced that she was a feminist. Although the countdown does not specifically say that naked pictures will be published, the site is believed to have been made by members of the internet forum 4chan, who are behind the recent release of hacked pictures of celebrities such as Jennifer Lawrence and Kate Upton. In her speech, Watson disclosed she became a feminist after being told she was too bossy for wanting to direct a play at the age of 8.
Today, we are launching a campaign called He for She. I am reaching out to you because we need your help. We want to end gender inequality, and to do this, we need everyone involved. This is the first campaign of its kind at the UN. We want to try and galvanize as many men and boys as possible to be advocates for change. And we don't just want to talk about it. We want to try and make sure that it's tangible. I was appointed as Goodwill Ambassador for UN Women 6 months ago. And the more I've spoken about feminism, the more I have realized that fighting for women's rights has too often become synonymous with man-hating. If there is one thing I know for certain, it is that this has to stop. For the record, feminism, by definition, is the belief that men and women should have equal rights and opportunities. It is the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. I started questioning gender-based assumptions a long time ago. When I was 8, I was confused at being called bossy because I wanted to direct the plays that we would put on for our parents. But the boys were not. When at 14, I started to be sexualized by certain elements of the media. When at 15, my girlfriends started dropping out of their beloved sports teams because they didn't want to appear muscly. When at 18, my male friends were unable to express their feelings. I decided that I was a feminist, and this seemed uncomplicated to me. But my recent research has shown me that feminism has become an unpopular word. Women are choosing not to identify as feminist. Apparently, I am among the ranks of women whose expressions are seen as too strong, too aggressive, isolating, and anti-men, unattractive even. Why has the word become such an uncomfortable one? I am from Britain, and I think it is right that I am paid the same as my male counterparts. I think it is right that I should be able to make decisions about my own body. I think...
Let me remind you of today's headlines. This wraps up the bulletin. At least 70 Islamic State militants are killed as the United States and 5 Arab states start airstrikes in Syria. A French national is kidnapped by an ally of IS in Algeria, demanding France stop airstrikes in Iraq immediately. And in Lebanon, 1 dead in Tripoli and 2 wounded as there are more clashes with the army. Those are your Tuesday headlines live on Future TV. I'm Yumna Nofaz signing off. I'll see you again tomorrow for what's latest.